To complete the Files and Forms milestone, you'll be asked to respond to a series of 9 questions. Some call for a single answer, while others allow multiple answers, so please read carefully. The purpose of these questions is to help identify which forms are necessary for your project. When you're finished, STEM Wizard will automatically generate the forms that your project requires. Question 1. Will your project include vertebrates, humans, recombinant DNA, microorganisms, human or animal tissue? Clarification here. Vertebrates refers to animals with a backbone other than humans. I know, we're vertebrates too. I have a backbone.
Oh, come on!
But this makes it easier. If your project includes human subjects in any way, even just asking them simple questions or completing a survey, you must check the humans box. For many projects, like most engineering or computer science projects, none of the above may be the appropriate selection. Question 2. Where will your experimentation take place? At home? At school? In a lab at a university or a hospital? In the field? Check all that apply. Question 3. Continuation? This one is easy. Only check the box if this project is a continuation of work you presented at NEOSEF previously. Otherwise, leave the box empty and move on. Question 4. Will your experiment include any of the following? This question is only applicable if you're working with vertebrate animals or tissues from vertebrate animals. It is important to be sure all creatures are handled humanely. We have found that this question often creates confusion, so here are some scenarios that can help. Let's say you're testing to see which brand of food your dog or cat prefers. You offer 2 brands and record which one is eaten. This would be an example of a non-invasive and non-intrusive nutritional study. However, if you withhold food for any reason, that is intrusive and not allowed under NEOSEF guidelines. Let's say you're watching birds in your backyard to see which parts of the yard they seem to prefer. Or maybe you're studying the behavior of an animal at the zoo. These are examples of non-invasive and non-intrusive observational studies. What if you were testing the effectiveness of natural pesticides using ants or cockroaches? Since neither of those are vertebrates, none of the above applies, but be aware you may need hazardous agents forms. What if you were working with rats in a medical center laboratory and they were sacrificed so you could measure the amount of lead that has accumulated in their livers? You should check tissue obtained from an animal sacrificed for your project. Now how about this one? What if you were working in a medical center laboratory and they sacrificed rats to study lead accumulation in the liver, but you used the hearts to study the expression of a heart protein? You should check tissue obtained from an animal sacrificed for purposes other than your project. If you still have questions and still have no clue, feel free to call Jim Bader at 216-368-5289 or drop in an email at jxb14@case.edu to help out. Question 5. Will your project include humans in any capacity whatsoever? Working with humans is allowed, but if someone answers a question or completes a survey, they are considered human subjects and entitled to protections under the law. Question 6. This question addresses specific populations of people who are offered additional protections. It's certainly permissible to work with minors, people under 18, but each participant must have a consent form signed by a parent or guardian. Question 7. My project involves human data. Just like questions 5 and 6 address protections for humans, this question addresses privacy issues. It's important that the data students have access to cannot be traced back to any specific individual. The data must be stripped of identifying markers. Question 8. This question refers to hazardous materials, and most of the options should be fairly self-explanatory. The most likely source of confusion is the chemicals option because, after all, even if we use water and table salt, we're using chemicals, right? However, this option is really referring to hazardous chemicals. The best way to determine whether a chemical is hazardous is through the product's MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet, which can be easily found through Google searches or the manufacturer's website. Please note, Just because a chemical may be considered hazardous does not mean it cannot be used in your experiment. Oh. Question 9. This question is a bit redundant, asking questions that have already been answered previously, but now with more specificity.
What?
Don't be alarmed. This is a common strategy to raise the likelihood of compliance. If you don't know what a viroid or rickettsia are, chances are very likely you're not working with either group of these organisms. Once you've completed the 9 questions, you'll go back to the Project Wizard page where you'll see your milestones. Click on the yellow Download Requested Files button to download the files. These will be a series of fillable PDFs in a zip file. How to fill in the forms is the subject of another video. At the bottom of the page, you'll see a list of all possible forms, with check marks only next to those that STEM Wizard decided you needed based on your responses to the 9 questions. If you decide you need an additional form, check the box next to that form and select Save Form Changes, and then Download Requested Files. If you determine you actually do not need a form, it's important to uncheck its box and select Save Form Changes to update your list. Once you've completed the final checklist, the only thing left is for a NEOSEF official to review your uploaded documents. Once they've been approved, the Files and Forms milestone will turn green, so don't be alarmed by the waiting for approval symbol that you'll see when you're done.